Hello everyone, welcome back. Please comment, rate, subscribe, folks. Comment, rate, subscribe, like the videos. Also share the videos. I want to thank everyone that does like, watch, and share my videos. You folks are the absolute best. Listen, folks, it's the link tree down below. Has the link to all of my social media platforms. Please go down there and follow me across my social media platforms. Talk to me, I will talk back. Also has the link to my YouTube pages as well. Please go down there and subscribe to me across my YouTube platforms as well. And turn on your notifications too. So when I post content, you folks will be in the know. So with that said and done and put to the side, I'm going to talk to you folks today about the Jets safety and cornerback position. We're going to be talking about the Jets secondary. Listen, this is a position group that I think is going to be revamped quite a bit, especially with this new coach that we have in here, Sulla, bringing in that 4-3, this new coaching staff. For some of the guys that we're excited about, though, this new coaching staff, I think, is going to put them in a situation to really make plays. I'm really excited about some of the options that we may have in free agency. But before we even get to talking there, because free agency is right around the corner, I want to talk about some of the guys that we currently have on the roster in these position groups that I'm excited about. I'm not going to mention every single player in the position group. I'm just going to bring up some of the guys. So first guy I'm going to start with the Jets cornerback situation, Bryce Hall. Listen, Bryce Hall was a guy I think everybody was just kind of intrigued by when we first drafted him. There was a lot of talk about him. A lot of people talked about the injury history. There was a lot of concerns there. But there were a lot of people that said, hey, listen, this kid's got it. And if he didn't have this injury history, he'd probably be a first-round draft pick. I heard a lot of people talking about that. Like, I'm telling you, this guy has a skill. If we can keep him healthy and keep him out there good to go, he's absolutely going to pay dividends. And let me tell you something. When he was put out in the field this year, after all the stuff we dealt with Pierre Desir, and that was disgusting. Like, all the nonsense was going on when he was put out there and they allowed these young corners to go out there and play. Man, he was impressive. Yes, there were times where he got beat. He's a young corner. He was inexperienced. But he put on in some games. He had some big interceptions in some games. He really, played well and was able to lock up on some receivers that didn't really abuse him. Of course, they got their yardage, but they didn't abuse him and just destroy him like a young corner. Like most young corners just around the league just get tossed aside. He was not getting abused and beat like that. And there were, some opposing wide receivers. I think it was Keenan Allen even kind of talked about, hey, he's not a bad corner. He's just young and inexperienced, But he said, kind of tipped his cap to him like, yeah, he's a decent player, So I was excited by Bryce Hall. I think he's a kid that we can continue to move forward with. Again, going on in the future, I don't know if he's a number one or number two. I don't know. But I know when he was put out there, he played fairly well. So we'll continue to see him grow within this scheme too. Bless Austin kind of was up and down this year, man, to be completely honest. I was hoping to really see him take a step forward, especially with him put in that number one cornerback role. But, there were games where he was just getting cooked, to be completely honest. And I was not thoroughly impressed with him this year. So I think the biggest problem with the Jets for me, when you look at this cornerback position, is we don't have a true number one corner. We just don't. We have a lot of guys trying to play that role, but they're not really that. So Bless Austin is a guy, that's here. He was decent, but I think he could have played better. Another guy as well in the cornerback position that we, was there that did some decent things this year for us. Poole, Poole was decent for us. Again, he got injured. He missed quite a bit of time this season, but when he was out there, he was pretty solid. He's always been solid for us at the slot corner position. So he was decent as well. And Maye, really did some things out there too. He's a guy that came in, filled in some slot duty, and did some other things within the cornerback position. So there was another guy, that put on for us. You look at the safety position, Marcus Maye, I thought played pretty solidly this year. Early in the season, there was some games where he struggled, particularly in that Niners game. Jordan Reed abused him, in that game. But he was able to bounce back and put some things together. I was really looking to see us give him a big-time deal, but he did end up getting franchised. So I think he counts for $10.5 million on the roster this year. It is what it is. Don't necessarily love it, but I understand it. The Jets are going to continue to try to work out a full a longer deal with him to really keep him on this roster. But they couldn't do it in time. So, hey, franchise him and keep him here. Don't let him go to free agency, and I'm okay with that. Another guy as well, Ashton Davis. I was thoroughly impressed with Ashton Davis. This was a guy that was flying around, a young safety. He also got injured this year and missed some time. But, I was impressed by his output. So I liked him out there too. A lot of people talked about Bradley McDougald. I don't like him at all. His output was terrible. He missed a lot of tackles this year. In the game against the Colts, he could have made a play on a running back, and he just kind of dipped and dove into the grass, just sniffed the grass, let the time pass. You know what I'm saying? So he's a guy that I think the Jets should move on from. I believe he's a free agent this year, anyway. So he's not a guy that I want to see brought back here whatsoever. So with that said, though, I'm gonna go into the Jets free agents that I'm looking at, and I'm saying to myself, Poole is a guy that I'm interested in seeing. Will they keep around? I don't think you necessarily have to give him a long-term deal. Maybe another 1-year deal, 2 years at max. To kind of keep him here because he is very solid in the slot. So I'd be interested in keeping him here. And also Millet's also another guy that's a free agent as well. I think we can get him back pretty cheaply. He's a guy, again, that could come in here and play multiple corner roles. Again, he's not a number 1 or a number 2, but that 3 role, that 4 role, something like that, he's a guy that you can definitely bring in, maybe even on special teams too. So those are 2 guys I'd be interested in as far as, guys that we would look to re-sign and keep here. But again, if we move on from them, I wouldn't cry at all. You start to talk about these free agents that are already out there, though, guys that are just in the market, and there's some interesting options. The thing is I do not want to see the Jets go back out into that market and overpay for a corner like we have in the past. I do not want to see that. We should have learned our lessons. Tremaine Johnson, I think, was a huge lesson for us. Hell, even Revis, towards the end of that contract, was not looking good, and we were really paying out of our nose. And so I think we've really seen, that we've gotten burned going to free agency and paying cornerbacks big time money, and we've seen that that's done to us. So I don't think we'll necessarily do that this year. But I think there's 2 guys that I think will be targeted by Sulla and the staff to be brought in here. One of them is Richard Sherman. A lot of people are talking about him constantly. And I think that this could possibly be a fit for him. Again, I don't think he's a guy that we give a long-term deal to, 4 or 5 years, nothing like that. Maybe 1 or 2 year deal. Have him come in here, kind of fill in that number 1 role. Yes, he's an older corner, but he's a guy that can still fill in there and be solid, and also help continue to coach and groom and mature our young corners as well as they come along. He's not the only guy that we have to add, but he is a guy that we should be interested in. Very familiar with Sulla and the scheme. He was out there with the Niners. He was one of the first guys to even say, he's a great coach, but he's a better man. So Richard Sherman clearly would be a fit here. Another guy that could be a fit here is Kay Williams. Listen, man, K'Wan Williams from the Niners, he's a guy that I think we're going to be targeting as well. Younger corner, again, wasn't Sulla, wasn't a scheme. He's a guy that can put on. He's got athletic ability. He can come in here, and play pretty solidly. I think he's a guy that the Jets would target as well in free agency. Again, I don't want to see us target too many guys because I don't want to see us get cooked like we have in the past. But I think that these are some signings that we can end up getting that won't break the bank for us where we have to pay an enormous amount of money. You look at the draft, and there's a lot of talk about a lot of different corners, but I keep hearing the name Patrick Surtain II linked to us. I really do. There's a lot of people already talking about it, and a lot of people saying, hey, he could be there, depending on where we draft. There's some people saying that he might be there at 23. There's some people saying that. And I could see us taking him. If we decide not to go, the cornerback route, I don't think we'll just stick with Bless Austin and Bryce. I think we'll go out there and still try to, do what we can to improve this team and maybe bring in another younger guy, and he could be there. So, there's some interesting things that we're going to end up doing in this position group here. Like I said, I think it's going to be a bit of change, especially the scheme change, coaching change. They're going to bring in some guys to really compete there. So, with that said and done, please comment down below, folks. Let me know what you folks think. How do you feel about our secondary? What are your thoughts about our cornerback position? Do you want to see us spend big money in the free agency market? What are your thoughts, about Marcus Maye? Are you upset that he got franchised? I know some people, weren't feeling that. A lot of people were saying, hey, get this deal done, pay him, and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So let me know how you folks feel about that. Please comment down below. We'll go back and forth. You folks have a good one. Peace.